Politicians should not be allowed to vote. This is the third in a series on how to shrink government. Here's a link to the playlist where you'll find the first two. The first one was government workers shouldn't pay taxes, and the second one was prohibit government workers from voting. Now, this one here is kind of a special case, and why I'm specifically making a video just about this one. Politicians are government workers, and they would be covered by the previous video, but they're truly a special case of government workers. They are elected members who then propose and vote on bills in their respective government body. So it might sound weird to say we should not allow them to vote, but what I'm saying is they should not be allowed to vote in a general election or in a referendum. Supposedly, and politicians love saying this, politicians are public servants. Well, if you can vote just as I can, you're really an equal. And because of politicians having the power to pass bills, they actually are superior in many ways. And this goes even further. Federal politicians, U.S. congresspeople, U.S. senators, U.S. House of Representatives, even exempt themselves from the laws they pass for the rest of us. That is a true indication that they view us as servants to them, not they to us. They, I think, truly view themselves as public masters. Now, prohibiting them from voting is going to take a few votes away from bigger for a pro-big government, but it's more symbolic. It is letting them, it's trying to point home that they're public servants. They're not our equals. They're not our masters. When they're an incumbent, they don't get to vote in an election, and besides, they're just going to vote for themselves. It would be extremely rare that they would ever vote for their opponent. So it's a given that they're going to vote for themselves. But it is also tries to point home that they are public servants to us. And this almost symbolic nature, this symbolism, I think is very important. Politicians knowing that when it comes to election day, they are on the sidelines. They're bystanders. The public is determining their fate. They don't get an equal voice in determining their fate. Now, some people are going to, again, say, well, they're elected to vote for bills, to propose and vote for bills. And that's true. But that doesn't take away from the aspect that they're supposed to be our public servants. And the imagery you have currently with elections is they always like taking a photograph of the politician casting his vote or her vote. And you know they're casting their vote for themselves. It'd be much more interesting to show them as bystanders, watching others determine their fate. I mean, they're determining our fate. It'd be nice to have a little bit where the tables are turned on them. And also, again, drives a point home that they're public servants. And I don't think this point can be overstressed, because the politicians always love saying that they're public servants. But they don't act like public servants. They act as public masters. Again, at the federal level, they exempt themselves from their own laws. They're pretty much the only people in the world who can give themselves a pay raise. And that happens at both the state, federal, and local levels, unless there is, usually caused by a referendum, some restriction on how much they can pay themselves. But politicians love to vote for their own pay raises. The idea that, well, this gets qualified candidates to run for office is complete bullshit. The U.S. Congress is commonly called the Millionaires Club, and it's practically getting to where it's going to be called the Billionaires Club. The rich go into politics because that gives them power that they don't have from their wealth. Some mean going there to do good, but I think a lot of them just like the idea that they're now powerful, that they have enough money to buy an election, and now they can rule over others. That's not going to change by prohibiting them from voting, but it will send a signal to them that they are not our equals. They are definitely not our masters. They're public servants. And I would find it very interesting if any politician could argue against this point. Unless they just publicly have come out and says, oh, I'm not a public servant. I am your equal. If not, and I doubt anyone ever would say, I am your master. How could this be brought about? Well, referendums. In the states that allow statewide referendums, this could be done to restrict at least state and local politicians from voting in an election. If you're a taxpayer group in a state, this might be a referendum you might like to look into. Something that you can get the public go, yeah, they're not our equals, they're definitely not our masters, they're our servants, and servants don't get an equal say with their master. Objections to this is you're removing their constitutional right to a vote. Yeah, but there's no constitutional right to be elected to a member of Congress or state assembly or your local school board. You voluntarily put yourself forward. I've never heard of a draft, a real draft, to get someone to be a politician. You can't force someone to become a politician. All these drafts so-and-so, it's just bullshit. It's just, I think, largely part of vanity by the politician. Maybe there have been true draft movements, but I really doubt it. I think a lot of the draft movements are by people who want to go into politics, but don't want to be viewed as wanting to go into politics. Oh, I was drafted into going into politics. The people pressured me. There was an outcry. I needed to, serve my public. Bullshit. Very likely it's all behind the scenes. If you probably dug deep enough, it's probably one of their employees is the one that started the whole draft so-and-so for office. Will the Republican and Democratic parties oppose this? I think the Democrat Party will oppose it. I think they are blatantly pro-big government. The Republican Party, maybe not so much. There's more cries on the Republican side for term limits than there are definitely on the Democratic side. This would play along and into that mentality, that narrative of restricting politicians and how long they can serve. This is restricting who gets elected. And again, it is for some more for symbolic reasons than anything else. But don't discount symbolism. I think it would be a really strong point driven home to politicians that the incumbents can't vote for themselves, that the public is going to decide their fate, and they don't get an equal say in that. I think if this was to be brought about, again, it would be done in probably states that allow statewide referendums, and that could have a rippling effect. Could this be struck down in the courts? Sure. Prohibiting government workers could be as well, but you know what? That's what constitutional amendments are for. It might be well worth an effort. to try and make that come about. It would definitely send a message. And I think that's something that is worth it in and of itself. I don't see a lot of people coming on out and decrying that politicians can't vote for themselves into office. There might be some. There's already been reaction to my video, the second in this series, about prohibiting government workers from voting. And those government workers, by the way, also are commonly referred to as public servants. But saying that, no, they get a same right to vote to determine their salaries kind of belies that fact. To address some of the arguments that were made against prohibiting government workers from voting, some posters have said that government workers make comparable to what they do in the private sector, and to restrict their ability to vote will get less qualified candidates to apply for government work. One, that's false. In the description below, I'll provide a link to that shows that government workers actually make 78% more than private sector workers. And two, as explained in the second video, soldiers already have much more significant rights, constitutional rights, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of assembly, that have been stripped of them so that they, as part of the bargain of being a soldier. So again, if you want to be a government worker, you're making a choice. You can receive a government paycheck or you can have the ability to vote, but you don't get both. You don't get to have an equal say in how much you get paid. So anyways, this is the end of part 3, sorry. Today I'm going to be filming part 4. It'll be released tomorrow. If this is the first time you've seen one of my videos, please subscribe to my channel. On your screen right now, or within the last 20 seconds of this video, there will be a subscribe button. It's just basically my picture. Please click on it and subscribe. Also in the description below is a link to a sign-up form for a mailing list. Once I get 100 people on this mailing list, I will start producing a weekly unlisted video where I reply to selected comments posted to last week's batch of public videos. If you'd like to see these reply to comment videos, please subscribe. Alright, see you tomorrow.